Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And we are here as part of the World Class Designer Journey to talk with Darshan Gajra. So, he is a product designer who's currently working at Graph CMS in Berlin. He got here with a very unique path. He's not had the traditional design education. He's been working with several clients as a freelancer and working on side projects to build his experience and working with clients remotely for over 7 years and building his business and consulting and giving amazing solutions to the products for 7 years. So he has also started a design newsletter called Product Disrupt, which reaches over 4,000 people. Which talks about new ideas and new concepts in the no code and design industry. So here to talk with us and explain a little bit more about how we can build a career in design doing side projects is Darshan. So take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction, Pradimna. And before I start, I would just like to thank you, Gideon, and your team for hosting me today. So I'm just going to share my screen here. I think you can see my screen okay, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So hello and welcome everyone, and good morning for those who are joining me from the European part of the world, and people are joining from different parts of the world. So I'm not even sure how to greet you, but welcome. So today we are going to learn about how we can build a career in design with side projects. And who am I? So my name is Darshan Gajra. I'm a product designer and a maker currently living in Berlin. I moved to Berlin about a year ago from Mumbai, and I've lived in Mumbai for the most of my life. I currently lead design at Graph CMS, which is a GraphQL native headless CMS, which allows small and big companies to take their businesses or content at scale with a lot of flexibility. And I also run a side project called as Product Disrupt, which is a curated list of resources to learn product design from the internet. Now, I'm going to keep my introduction very short because in the coming slides, we will learn more about me. So let's save us both some time and move forward. Now, what's on the agenda today? What are we going to learn today? So I'll tell you what I think is side project in my opinion. We'll be learning about the making of Product Disrupt and the journey I've had throughout making Product Disrupt and where it has taken me. We'll talk about some of the perks that a side project can give you. Before we get into the practical bits of the session, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. So watch out for that. And then we move into the practical bits, which is where I can share some inspiration and ideas to start your own side project and some of the ways that you can go about it. So, what exactly is a side project? And a side project, in my opinion, is an expression of creativity. It's an outlet for you to express something which you might not have an opportunity to do in your regular job. It could be anything, it could be directly related to the work that you do, or it could absolutely not be related to the work that you do. Side project for me is like play. It's not like work. At least it should not feel like work to you. It can feel like work to other people, and that's fine. It definitely should not be boring. It's something that excites you. Only then you would find enough motivation to work on a side project. When you start a side project, I don't think it's very serious. You have to take a casual way to start a side project. And I say this because there's a clear differentiation between a side project and a side business. You might have different career aspirations with a side business, and you might approach it in a very different way. But side project cannot be directly approached as a side business. However, down the line, it might become a side business. And it's all about the journey. It's not really about the destination. You don't really have to have an end goal in mind when you start a side project. You just have to start something. What is Product Disrupt? As I mentioned earlier, it's a curated list of resources to learn product design from the internet. It has a lot of these categories and sections like blogs, podcasts, YouTubes, makers, designers, creators, courses. So all of the resources that you can go to learn product design from scratch. Now, in order to tell you why I really started Product Disrupt, I'll have to take you back in time. Uh, I think the year is 2017. It's when I'm at my second full-time job at Wishberry, leading product design over there. Uh, at this point of time, I've already been a professional designer. It's when I'm getting paid to do design work, so I call myself a professional designer. And I became a designer by coming from an engineering background. So I pursued computer engineering, which is a 4-year university degree in India. And during my engineering, I started taking a lot of freelance projects, and that's how I got into making websites, and that's how I came to know about this thing called as design. And I realized that it's something that I'm passionate about, so I want to make a full-time career into it. Now you see that since coming from an engineering background, most of the friends that I had, they were all engineers, and design was not really a well-known field in India at that point of time. A lot of people were not aware what design was, let alone my friends who were all engineers. So when I became a designer, I used to constantly keep on getting questions where people used to ask me that what exactly is product design, or what do you even do at your day job? And I found myself answering the same question again and again and sound like a broken record. And I thought that here's an opportunity where I can just help other people understand what product design is. So the way that I taught myself product design was through the internet. There are so many good people out there on the internet who are willingly sharing their case studies, their journeys, their process. People go on podcasts, they make YouTube channels. You're going to be hearing from a lot of those people in today's conference as well. Uh, and for me, I always wanted to learn from the best of the best. And I knew that none of the colleges or a design school in India would have been able to do that for me. And I was definitely not going to pursue again a design course or go to a design school after having a 4-year long engineering course. It's also something which takes a lot of money. I did not have enough resources at that time. So I took the internet route and I self-taught myself design. So over the period of time, I had so many resources that I was continuously following. Uh, so I thought, why not just make it into a website and just give it away? I didn't even think of a website. I just wanted to have a way where I could just give out all of these resources to other people so that they could also refer to the things that I was referring to. And that's how I started Product Disrupt. One of the major reasons why I wanted to start this was also because I wanted to give back to the community. Now, over the years, I've been taking a lot from the community. All of these people who have been putting out their resources, and I'm learning from them. So I feel that urge to give back to the community or give back to the internet, and this was my way of giving back to the community. Let's talk about the current state of Product Disrupt. So Product Disrupt, it has a main website which I just showed you with all of the resources. It also has a half monthly newsletter which I send out every 2 weeks with curated resources, design inspiration, and all of the things that you would find useful to build your own digital products. It also has a weekly blog, which is currently on pause because I'm in the process of revamping the design of it. So if you're interested, watch out for it. And it's been over 4 years that I've been working on this. I started Product Disrupt in the year 2017, and it's already 2021 now. Last year, I started monetizing Product Disrupt, mostly through sponsorships and affiliates. So I was able to make $1,853 in revenue last year. And in terms of expenses, what really I have to pay on a regular basis is a $17 monthly fee that I pay to my email newsletter service, which comes to about $200 in a year. So you can say 1,653 would be the profit. It's not really much, but it's just a way for me to make it sustainable and to find enough motivation to continuously work on it. It has over 3,800 subscribers at this point of time. It keeps on growing. So on the slide, you see as 3,700. On the blog, over the period of 4 years, I've published over 100 stories, which has mostly been published by me, and it's mostly inspiration about side projects, UI, and interaction design. Going forward, I'm looking to make it more of a community resource. So I would be also accepting guest posts and guest authors here. It has been featured on various magazines and publications like Product Hunt, Codrops, Envision, and Panda. There are lot of them. All of this is fine, but this is what is really interesting, and this is what really keeps me going. And I find this as the biggest achievement that I had with Product Disrupt. So a few days earlier, a friend of mine, who is a design manager at an agency in India, she reaches out to me on Instagram and she sends me this message saying that, "Hey, was just engaged with with few interviews from past couple of months. Had a news for you. Might not be very big, but can just bring a smile on your face. Probably it did for me." When I was asking them, when she says them, she's referring to a lot of those people whom she was interviewing for a design position. So when I was asking them about the primary source of daily inspiration for design, most of them had their first response as, "I've signed up for Product Disrupt newsletter, and that pretty much feels enough." So messages like this, which tells me that people find this resource useful and maybe they are finding their way into making a career into design through Product Disrupt, is something which I can take great pride in. Sometimes I've also heard from the people calling Product Disrupt as the Bible of design. And that's too much of a compliment, but it definitely keeps me going. Let's come to the interesting part. So how did I actually build the product? How did I build Product Disrupt? So the version 1 of Product Disrupt was based on an HTML framework, which I bought online for about $49. Now, the reason I went for an HTML framework was, at this point of time, I'd come from an engineering background, so I had some understanding of code. I could make simple websites. I was not very proficient in it, and I would not really expect people to pay me to code, but it's something that I did for myself and I still keep on doing. So I was comfortable with some of basic HTML and CSS editing. So I thought I would just buy a framework which would fit very well with my requirements. And the idea was to just make this resource online. So I did not want to spend much time on it. So I spent about 16 hours on the weekend to build it. Uh, Full disclosure, it was not entirely 16 hours on the weekend. I also spent a few hours during the week, but the total or the sum of it came to about 16 hours. And I spent most of the time on the weekend. I worked on it completely by myself. I wrote the content for it. I customized the template. I designed it. I made it into a website. I hosted it. And with a friend of mine, I also launched it on Product Hunt. And it was completely built in private. At that point of time in 2017, I had no idea of the no idea about the knowledge of building an audience, or I wasn't really much involved into the online communities. I'm just going to move this Zoom window here because I cannot read what's on the right. Anyways, I just remember it, so I'll just continue with it. And the version 2 was built on Webflow. It just cost me about $24 to export the code. Now, I did not want to host it on Webflow because I would have to pay a monthly fee to host that. And the product reserve is a resource which is not updated on a daily basis. So I don't really need to pay someone a monthly subscription fee. So what I did was I made it in Webflow, which is a visual no code editor, no code tool. And I paid it one time fee of $24 to export the code, and then I hosted it on Netlify. And one of the reason why I picked Webflow for this was also because I believe that Webflow is a very powerful tool. It was a time when Webflow had already established as a well-known product in the no-code space, and it's something that I really want to become an expert at. So I just thought I would pick Webflow for this. And as you would see, it's also a very common theme in most of the things that I do. Whenever I get an opportunity to learn, I would just try to go that route. And the version 2 was built gradually over the period of 3 years. So I launched version 2 uh, sometime mid last year in 2020. And it's not something that I gave myself a timeline or a deadline on. I just had continuous feedback from people online through the newsletter and people who were checking the website. They kept on coming and they kept on asking for more. So I just thought I could do that. And it was built in public. So when I started working on it, I created a thread on Twitter where I shared all the progress I was making with the project. There were times when I did not have enough motivation, or maybe life came in the way and was not able to find enough time to work on it. But because I was working and building it in public, a lot of I made myself accountable to these people. So a lot of those people who were interested, they kept asking for it, and they hold me accountable for it. So it was a great way for me to find my way into it and keep on working on it. So which is why it's also one of the things that I recommend people to build something in public. It's a way for you can build an audience, you can share your progress, you can make connections. There are so many benefits to building in public, and I cannot recommend it enough. It was a lot of this inspiration and help was also taken from the community. I got a friend of mine who helped me with some of the Webflow coding, not really coding, but helping me with Webflow since I was very new with it. This is how version 1 looked like. You can still access the version 1 if you go to productdisrupt.com/v1. You would see that it was a very simple website in the beginning. It had about 7 or 8 categories of resources. And when I launched it on Product Hunt, it became the number one product of the day. And it had about 600 or 700 votes. And to this date, it has gone up to 1,800 votes. And by becoming the number one product of the day on Product Hunt, it gained a lot of traction. And people, the community of Product Hunt is also very helpful and supportive. So it was because of this community, I got comments like maybe you could start a newsletter. They would be interested in subscribing to something that that sent them curated resources on a regular basis. So I just thought, yeah, maybe I could just start a newsletter. And it was also a way for me to learn how to send a newsletter or to learn MailChimp as a tool. And that's the reason why I started the newsletter. It's been 4 years and it's going strong. This is how version 2 looks like. Uh, version 2 did not become number one product of the day, but it became number two product of the day. But the launch was still more successful than version 1 because version 1 had about 670 upvotes during the launch day, but version 2 had almost 1,000 votes, and it got a lot more traction than version 1 got. And I think it's also because over the period of time, Product Hunt has also grown as a product in itself. So I could also bank on that. And one mistake that I made when I launched V1 was I did not have an email capture over there. I did not ask for any emails because I did not have any intentions to do anything with that. Only from the community, I got to know that I can start a newsletter. So that was a great missed opportunity for me. But when I launched the second newsletter, I definitely had the email capture, and it got me about 870 subscribers just on the launch day. So it's a mistake that I made, and I would say that even if you do not have any intentions of doing anything with your product going further or your side project, always try to capture interest. You could do that by capturing emails, or you could ask people to sign up somewhere or a place where you know that these are the people who are interested in your side project and you can find a way to connect with them. All of this is fine. What about the other perks? So to give you some context about some other perks, uh, I think in the beginning of 2017, I had quit my job at Wishberry and I became a full-time freelancer. It's because I wanted to travel the world. The bug of digital nomading had bit me at that point of time, and I wanted to work on many global products, take full control of my time. So I thought I would become a full-time freelancer. And I think by the end of 2017, I received this message on LinkedIn from the CEO of a company called Sapad, who are a point of sales company based in Dubai. I've had about 2 years of working relationship with them, and they have been one of my biggest clients in all matters. They compensated me really well. I had great experience working with them. I got to travel to Dubai for your user research trip. I worked with them on 3 successful projects. They have also grown as a company over the period of time, and just the working relationship that I had with them was great. So, what did the message say? It says that, "Hi Darshan, we are an Indian software company headquartered in Dubai that passionately believes in building great products. We have already put out a product that is doing brilliantly. In 5 years, we have acquired more customers than our competitors in decades. We believe this is because of our approach to creation. We believe we are creating art, not software, an experience and not just a product. We are looking for people who speak the same language, people who are passionate about the work, about their work, who are who are fanatical about user experience. We are primarily a UX centered company, and we happened upon Product Disrupt. And from there, we saw on LinkedIn that you're also looking for an opportunity abroad. Maybe this is something that you would be interested in, and we could talk." So it's because of the side project that I worked on it and the kind of exposure that I got. I kept on receiving opportunities like this. So it was a way for me to build my career as a freelancer, as a designer. I also received offer from companies like Uber, Hotstar, which is now Disney Plus Hotstar, since Disney Plus acquired it in India. I received an offer from Housing, which is a real estate company. It was very big at that time. I think it has lost its direction in the recent times. Uh, and I currently work at Graph CMS. So I had a lot of opportunities from a lot of these companies, and I couldn't really accept any of those because I was working as a full-time freelancer, and it did not match the journey that I wanted to take at that point of time. But nevertheless, it was great validation. I also got to travel quite a lot and give sessions and presentations on the because of Product Disrupt. So the first image that you see is me giving a session on design thinking in Doha in Qatar. Uh, the session was mostly meant for corporate people, and corporate people are not the kind of people that would excite you. They don't really, you don't really get enough response for them, but from them. But nevertheless, the experience was great. Being able to go there and talk to all of these people, and also to travel to Doha. Then I last year, I think about 1.5 years ago, I also gave this session on building a career in design with side projects in Mumbai at a Dribble meetup in Mumbai. Then you see the third image, which is me giving a talk on side projects on in NIT Rourkela, which is a very prestigious technical institute in India. And the fourth image is me giving a session on the basics of design at IIT Bombay. Now, IIT is one of the most prestigious and respected universities or institutes for engineering in India. This moment was very special for me because it was the first talk that I gave when I started doing the seminars and sessions. And it was also very special for me because before starting my engineering career, I was also thinking of getting into IIT, and I was going to prepare for it. But the circumstances were not very favorable, and I decided that I would not go for it. But it was something that I always had in the back of my head, that what if I had pursued IIT? So for me, to be invited over there and give a talk to people studying at IIT Bombay was very special. I've also gave the similar talk at many other places, and also the content that you see today is refined over the years because I've had experience of talking about the same topic to a lot of people, and it's a topic that I am very passionate about. So I can really go whole day talking about side projects. I continuously get invited to be interviewed on magazines and publications and podcasts. So on the left, recently I got interviewed by 8PX magazine. Uh, then I was also on the High Worthy podcast talking about my journey as a designer, freelancing. I was on Creative Hustle podcast talking about designing remotely and building a personal brand. I was also on the Noise podcast talking about the remote work and side projects. So enough of this. Let's get into the practical bits. And before we get there, a disclaimer. One thing that I would recommend people is do not start your side project just for money. And as I mentioned earlier, that if you are doing it just purely with the intention of making some money, then maybe just call it side business, because the kind of approaches that you're going to take to build this is going to be very different. And if you do not get enough momentum in the beginning, or if you're not able to make enough money with it, you might lose the motivation to work on the side project after all. So it's something that I would always recommend people to, in order to start a side project, do not think about money. Obviously, over the period of time, if it sticks with people and if you want to make it sustainable, you can always find ways to monetize it. I can give you some of the great examples and inspiration of how some big companies started as a side project and became went on to become a big business. One of them is Product Hunt. I think most of you might already be familiar with Product Hunt. It's a website. It's a discovery platform where people can find different products, and a lot of people go to this website to learn more about the upcoming products, to do competitor research. It's more like a Google for products. And the way Product Hunt started was the founder of Product Hunt, Ryan Hoover. He has always been a very passionate person about product. He does his tear downs and he's always looking out for new product. So he was always sharing these things with his friends, and through that he also started a newsletter. So over the period of time, his newsletter grew to a big number. People were always interested in what he was sharing, and they always wanted to know about the new products from him. So ultimately, he made it into a website, which then became this product where people can, which is community source. People are launching their product. People are hunting other products. So it's no more just a project run by just Ryan Hoover. It's a company now, and it was also acquired by Angel.co some time ago. And Ryan Hoover has already exited this product now. So you can imagine that he must have made millions of dollars from this, and he had a very good exit. Unsplash. I think Unsplash is a very familiar name. If you are a creative, there's a huge chance that you must have used an image from Unsplash some or the other way. It's very closely integrated into the creative community. And the way Unsplash started was also very inspiring. So I think the founders at Unsplash, they were actually a creative agency in the beginning, and they were looking for some of the stock images to use in one of their products. They were not able to find enough good images, so they hired a photographer to get those images. And I think they ended up using some of those images, but they also wanted to just give out these images to people out in the open, so that they knew that other people might also be struggling with this need of images. So maybe if they could help out someone, that would be great. I think they also posted it on Hacker News, and it became a big thing from there. Then they slowly made it into a newsletter where they would send out new images on a regular basis. I'm not exactly sure of the number, but I think it was about 5 or 6 images every week. Initially, it was all because they had this problem of not finding good images, and they had this altruistic motive of helping other people as well. So ultimately, they made it into a product where other photographers also came together to share their images with public, so people can use it in their creative projects. They're all under Creative Commons license, so you're free to use it for your personal and commercial projects. And Unsplash, as you know, it has the numbers speak for itself. It has so many users always continuously giving out free images for the people to use. It has more than billion downloads every year, and don't even get me started on the number of views or images get. Now, the reason why I give you this ideas and inspiration is because how do you start a side project? So the first question that I would ask to someone who wants a side project is, do you have a problem? And you can see this has been a common theme in the projects that I've talked about. What was the problem that I was trying to solve with Product Disrupt? I was trying to answer those people who was continuously asking me about these resources. Ryan Hoover, he had this passion for sharing products with the people, and that was maybe his problem, that he just wanted to reach out to more people so that even more people can know about the new products. Unsplash was trying to solve their own problem of finding good images. So you would see that it's one of the most common and easiest way to start a side project. That if you have a problem, and if you can find a very small way to solve that problem, it can become into a side project idea. Now, okay, you might tell me that maybe you do not have any problems, or maybe your problems are not exciting enough for you. The next question you can ask yourself is, do your friends have a problem then? And what I mean by this is, me, a designer coming from an engineering background, I had a lot of engineers who are my friends. They could have a lot of problems with design. Now, they are also makers and builders. They also want to make products, but maybe they might not be very familiar with design. So what I could do with them? How can I be helpful? How can I be resourceful to them? I could maybe give them a checklist of some of the things that they should always check before they create a project. Maybe give them the basics of designing. I can make so many info products out of it. I can make a simple website with the checklist. I can give them a step-by-step guide. I can put together a resource for them, which is very focused for engineers who can quickly pick up some of the basics on design. So there are so many ways that I can solve the problem for my engineer friends. You could also do this for your different kind of friends. So the thing that you're trying to do over here is, you have a particular skill set which could be valuable to other people. If you can use your skill set just to just to have just to give them a little head start in their journey, it's something that people would really find useful. And you have got a side project right over there. You don't have a problem, your friends don't have a problem. Okay, that's fine. Now this is where the internet really comes in. Now, do your friends of friends have problem? What I mean by this is, there are so many communities online. There are so many people sharing so many complaints and sharing ideas. There's so much that you can always, if you're looking for problem, you would find problem in a lot of things. So if you join any of these communities online, or if you're joining any of the niche markets where you're very passionate about, you'd start seeing the patterns of what people are struggling with, and maybe that's a side project idea for you. One of the communities that I would recommend people to join is Indie Hackers. Now, Indie Hackers is an online community for people who are individual makers or maybe small businesses. Now, these are people who don't go the traditional route of raising funding and becoming into a hyper growth startup or something. There are people who just want to have a sustainable living by doing what they love. And the community is very supportive. Whenever you need any feedback, or you want to talk to people about products, or you just have an idea, you want to find people to collaborate with, you can always post here. You will always find people helping each other out. And it's also one of the ways for you to source ideas. And if you start if you start hanging around with these people who have the similar mindset, or people who have experience building side projects, or people who want to build side projects or maybe products, you'd slowly see that their energies would also rub off on you, and you'd slowly start seeing these patterns, and you'd start seeing ideas, you'd start seeing ways to build something. So and it's a very common saying that you are some of the people that you hang out with. So I really like hanging out with people who are passionate about making things. You could also join niche Facebook groups. I think there are niche Facebook groups for almost any topic. You will also find groups for people who are passionate rat lovers. Mm, you just name it, and you would find a group for that. And one of the groups that I found really useful on Facebook was the Designer Skill Group. It's perhaps the only reason I still use Facebook. It's only because of this group. I don't really check any notification or anything right now. It's a personal preference. I want to get away from Facebook, and I don't really find any interest in being active on Facebook. It's only because of this group that I'm still a part of it. And you can always find so many different groups with any of the topics that you're passionate about. Twitter, which is a very common place, but it depends. The magic of Twitter happens when you know the kind of people. The magic happens around the people that you're following. So you have to be very careful with the kind of network that you make over there and the people that you come in connection with. I really like to follow designers and makers on Twitter, because I find those people, they're always looking different and creative ways to solve their problems, or they're just exciting people. They just keep on creating, and it's very exciting to see them to create something and launch it in the open. I've made great connections on Twitter. Twitter has helped me in a lot of different ways, and this is also one of the places where you can find ideas. You'd see people, when they don't like something, they would be complaining. uh, they when they like something, they'll also be talking about that. If you start engaging with the conversation, you would see the real magic happens over there. And by the way, one of the other ways to find ideas to work on something is also see some of the popular products that you really like using. This products would usually have a public feedback board, or there has some sort of community, and there would be people there who would be asking for a lot of things over there. So you could always get inspiration and ideas from there as well. And to finish, I'll just give you some tips on how you can start a side project. So I would say, when you're starting out, do not go big or you will go home. What I mean by this is, a lot of people have this big picture in mind when they want to start something, which actually prevents them from starting anything at all. So it's okay to just start with a small idea, put it out there. You'd get a lot of feedback from people, and you can always iterate on it. So it's a great way to start something small. I'll also just see what's the time. I think we are running over time, so I'll just quickly try to wrap this up. The second thing is that launch it before it's ready. What I mean by this is, do not fall prey to the trap of perfecting something. If you launch it before it's ready, which means that you don't have to keep on pixel perfecting everything. Uh, the idea is to actually get something out in the world so you can get feedback, and if you see it sticks, if it's motivating enough for you to continue working on it. So just launch it before it's ready. And as you build side project, it's a great way for you to build relations and grow together with people. And I would leave you with this one point, which is just start. Starting is if you have started, it's already, you've already taken a major step. I know that starting is a big hurdle. A lot of people struggle with it. But if you put aside all of these things, which is you want to make a perfect product or you want to make something really big, it would be a lot more easier for you to get started. And when you start something, you might also build a momentum which would help you keep working on it. And if there's one thing that I want you to take from this session, is to start something. If even a single person watching this session starts a side project, I would consider that my job here is done. And that's all, folks. If you want to get in touch with me, or if you want to learn more about the progress that I'm making on side projects, the topics that I talk really passionate about, like no code, building in public, personal branding, design, you could subscribe to my newsletter, and this is a way for us to be friends. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darshan. It was very insightful, and I think we got a lot of information about the process of building a side project, process of building a product itself, regardless of the size. So I think our audience got a lot of the answers that they were looking for, and I'm pretty sure the product disrupt site itself has all the information about where to start and how to get through each of the steps. Oh,
Thank you so much. I'm glad that people would find it useful. And if we have time and if you want to take questions, I'm also open for that.
Yes, we are unfortunately running short of time, but I'm glad about the fact that we were able to cover most of the answers, the questions that the people had. So people can definitely follow you on all of your social medias and come back to us and interact with us and ask more questions. So people, please check out Product Disrupt as well, where you'll get a lot of information regarding this topic.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for being a part of this. Have a good day. Bye bye.
You too. See ya.